What if I told you that everything you think you know about the cost of our trash is probably wrong? That properly managing our planet's garbage isn't just some expensive chore? Well, you might be in for a shock. It turns out the solution might actually be a smart investment, not a money pit. So let's dig into the surprising economics of what we all throw away.
All right, let's just cut to the chase. Our world has a huge, and I mean huge, trash problem. We're basically creating this giant mountain of waste, and it just keeps growing every single day. And figuring out what to do with all of it, that's easily one of the biggest environmental challenges we're facing right now. So, get this. By 2025, a staggering 70% of all the world's waste is going to come from developing countries. But here's the real kicker. Right now, in those same places, more than 80% of that trash is just dumped. We're talking open dump sites with basically zero environmental controls. None.
And you know, these aren't just ugly piles of garbage we're talking about. They're full-blown public health crises. For the communities living nearby, especially for kids and for the waste pickers who literally make their living sorting through this stuff, the risks are just devastating. I mean, we're seeing higher rates of cancer, serious breathing problems, even neurological issues, all tied back to the toxic soup leaking into the air, the water, and the ground.
Okay, to really get a sense of the human cost here, check this out. A study looked at toxic waste sites in India, Indonesia, and the Philippines. They figured out that pollution from these sites caused the loss of about 829,000 years of healthy life. Now hold that number. In the exact same countries, malaria caused the loss of 725,000 healthy years. You heard that right. In these places, toxic waste is a bigger public health burden than malaria. That is just staggering. So, this all leads us to a really important point. The sticker price for getting rid of trash, it's completely misleading. The true cost is so much more than what a city pays to just haul some garbage to a dump.
But that raises a big question, doesn't it? I mean, how on earth do you put a price tag on pollution? How do you assign a dollar value to dirty water or to a kid getting asthma? Well, it sounds impossible, but economists actually have a tool for this. It's a concept called an externality.
So, what is an externality? Basically, it's a hidden cost, or sometimes a benefit, that affects someone who had nothing to do with the original transaction. Think about it like this. A factory makes a product and pollutes a river. The factory and its customers don't pay for the cleanup or for the health problems of people downstream, but society does. Those are the externalities. And this exact same idea applies to those open dumps. Okay, so how do they actually calculate these hidden costs? Well, there's a process for it called the impact pathway method. It's basically a three-step dance. First, you measure all the nasty stuff coming out of a site, the emissions. Then you model how all that junk spreads through the air, the soil, the water. And finally, you add up all the damage it does. You know, the healthcare bills, people missing work, the environmental cleanup. That's how you get to the true cost.
And one of the biggest hidden costs is something called the social cost of carbon. See, open dumps release massive amounts of methane, which is a super potent greenhouse gas. The social cost of carbon basically puts a dollar figure on the long-term damage that every ton of that gas is going to cause down the line. We're talking crop failures, flood damage, you name it. It's an absolutely critical piece of the puzzle if you want to see the full picture.
Okay, now this is where the story takes a really interesting turn. A big cost-benefit analysis from Harvard Kennedy School crunched all the numbers, including all those hidden external costs we just talked about. And what they discovered? Well, it completely flips the script on how we should be thinking about trash. So first, let's look at a basic, old-school open dump. When you start adding up all those hidden social and environmental costs, the health problems, the climate damage, the real price tag just explodes. The Harvard analysis found that, on average, a single open dump has a true cost of over $21 million every single year.
But what happens if you go with a modern enhanced landfill instead? You know, the kind that captures gas to generate energy and has a system for recycling? Yeah, the upfront cost to build it is higher, for sure. But, and this is a huge but, it also creates new ways to make money by selling electricity, compost, and all those recycled materials.
So, what's the bottom line when you put them head to head? On one side, you have the old open dump, which is secretly costing society a fortune in hidden damages. And on the other, you have the modern system. It costs more to build, yes, but it also brings in money and slashes those social and environmental costs. So which one actually wins out? And here is the absolute stunner. When you tally everything up, all the costs, all the benefits, the most advanced system, the one with energy recovery and recycling, it doesn't have a cost.
at all. In fact, it generates a net saving of over $14 million a year. Let that sink in. It's not an expense, it's an investment that literally pays for itself with millions to spare.
Okay, so the economic case is pretty much a slam dunk. But what do these smarter, modern waste solutions actually look like in the real world?
Well, it all starts with a core idea called the waste hierarchy. Think of it like a ladder of priorities. At the very top, the absolute best thing you can do is prevent waste from being created at all. If you can't prevent it, you reuse it. If you can't reuse it, you recycle it. Then you try to recover value from it, like energy. And only at the very bottom, as a last resort, do you dispose of it.
And we're not just talking about putting out a few more recycling bins here. Technology is totally revolutionizing every single step of this hierarchy. You've got AI-powered robots that can literally go around parks and pick up tiny pieces of trash by themselves. You've got companies using blockchain to track recycled plastics, making sure that when you throw a bottle in the bin, it actually becomes a new product. The tech is incredible.
Okay, so let's pause for a second. If the math is so clear and the tech is so cool, why isn't this happening everywhere? It's a fair question, and the answer is that, as usual, the real world is complicated, and there are some pretty big hurdles in the way. One of the biggest is public pushback. You've probably heard of the not in my backyard effect, or NIMBY. And, it's understandable. People get worried when they hear a new waste facility might be built near them. They think about the noise, the dust, the smell, and just what it's going to look like. And this cartoon really nails the problem. You've got officials trying their best to explain the long-term benefits and the real costs, but they just get hit with a tidal wave of complaints about everything under the sun. Honestly, just managing public perception and expectations is a huge challenge for any of these projects.
But the pressure isn't just coming from the public. There are internal roadblocks too. There's this one report with a killer quote that says, "Fear of accusations paralyzes weaker managers." Think about that. Even when all the data shows an investment is the right call, a public official might be too scared to approve it, terrified they'll be accused of corruption or wasting taxpayer money. That fear can just grind everything to a halt.
And as if that's not enough, you've got all the usual suspects: bureaucracy and money problems. The whole process of buying land and getting equipment is just painfully slow and complicated. Sorting out who even owns the land can take years, and a lot of the time, there just isn't enough private investment willing to front the cash for these big, expensive projects. So this all brings us back to one final, huge question. The evidence is clear. When you look at the whole picture, a modern waste management system isn't a drain on society's resources. It's a massive net benefit. This changes everything. The debate shouldn't be about whether we can afford to do this right. The real question is, how much longer can we possibly afford not to? So, what has to change to make this smart investment a reality for everyone?